come back after a couple of years. You go to the Yam Melech, I know the salt's supposed to keep you floating. I'm sure I'm going to go crash. Oh no! How are we going to do this? What's touch? Why were these kids so happy? What is the simcha in the kid and their kid? And in the kiddush hasimcha was, what makes us happy? So basically, in our lives, we're battling either kina taida or kuvit. We're not happy because there's a taida we have a lack of it. We're not happy because we're jealous. We're not happy because of kuvit. Because we're not getting the kuvit that we want from our spouse, from him, we're not getting the dignity, I'm not getting the recognition, I'm not getting the identity. And all of a sudden something happens, all of a sudden my picture is there, or it looks like I'm going to get a certain taida, or it looks like, Yenet Gechavta Mapul and I'm on top, so we think we're happy. Now we're happy. Or, let's say we're scared of something, then we get news that comes out, you don't have to be so scared because certain seed has changed, so there's relief. But you realize our whole simcha is based on what? It's based on either trying to get something that we don't have. It's based on either some type of fear that is within us. Okay, so we're removing the problem. But there's never simcha l'shem simcha. These kids are jumping up and down. They're not saying it. But that giggle, the real laughter in their heart is saying what? It's saying, I'm so happy to be who I am right here in Yerushalayim with these bottles. It's not a simcha of jealousy. It's not a simcha of removing a problem. It's not a simcha of trying to control, and he thinks he has a dimyon, now I do have control of my life. It's a simcha l'shem simcha. So how do we get a hold of that kind of simcha? How do we do it? Where do we get to it? So I'm trying to think. And I'm coming to daven my heart tzvi early in the morning because we're going to Baron's prosperity. That way I did the seeker, my eyes went over. I opened one eye closed. There's a Russa Shayida, and he's saying a long Kaddish, and I'm in a rush, and I'm like looking at him. And he calls me over afterwards. He says, so to geort mein Kaddish, zu lang freich. Na, chas v'shul. He says, you weiß for wem ich so Kaddish, Kaddish. Hey, there we go, another half hour now. So I said, yeah. He tells me he's on Chava Matel. He tells me, Matel, he says, du gehst mit Payas. He says, it's easy to go with Payas here in Yerushalayim. He goes, du hast kosher Fleisch. He says, Matel gegangen mit Payas. In a bod, Bastau. He says, Matel got a mikveh intezand. When he goes on telling me, Matel had a mikveh on their dining room table. We brought ice over there and put it in with the Kaddish Nefashos. He thought somebody all of the serious nefesh that Matel had. He said, that's for Matel I'm saying Kaddish. And he goes, Matel, we used to have a secret minion for Shalashidas. If you were caught, we would have been all sent to Siberia. And we were going to rush to Daven Meir because we were scared of Spain. Matel gesitzen dort mit der Seger. Und Matel hat gesagt, noch nicht Rabbeinu Tam. Matel gesitzen mit einer Seger. He goes, du weißt, wenn Matel ist Nifte geworden? Matel, eine alte Hearing, it was no Nifte. Whoever this Matel is, he says he was Nifte on the day of his birthday, Mamish by 72. Du weißt, der Eibischter Alter selber Seger. Bediuk. And he's, I'm listening to him, and he says, don't rush me with the Kaddish I'm saying from Matel. Like, who are you? You're right. And he's smiling, and I says, what did you do in the days of Stalin? Oh, wegen the day of So Hashem Stalin, he was Matel's Chavis, they just can push the heat, even though he was wearing suspenders and everything. And as he's walking out, he turns around and he goes, good morning, and he says something as he walked out. He turns around to the base manager, maybe 10 people there, in the biggest manager, and he goes, Boiker Toy, alle Yidden! And he walks out. I say good morning, I don't say it to Ali. He went through such Mesiras Nefesh in his life, he went through such bittul, that he's like Boiker Toiv to Ali. In other words, what he's saying is, I am happy to be alive, I am happy to be here in Yerushalayim, I am happy to be surrounded by Simcha. I said, wait a second. He is as happy as those kids that were jumping up and down in the wagon, in the battles. Why? Because he reached that moment of bittul. Now we don't have to be mamish in that same matziv of bittul, but we have to be in a matziv where we realize that I don't control my life, and no one can hurt me. And there's a certain amount of agmas nefesh, tindig noilid v'kicker biyad. There's a certain amount of agmas nefesh that you're going to have in your life, and because someone said something to me that's hurtful, I'm not having any extra agmas nefesh. I would have that agmas nefesh anyway. But yet, if I'm going to be boiling as piv mitoich meriza and let it go by, and good morning, what can I do for you? Can ich mich ankaufen with this agmas nefesh? Unbelievable. I'm not going to want to take it. I say, I once had a chavah. he said, his wife's pressuring him, she wants this, she wants that, she wants that, how should I show us plus? So he went to, who was the Meir Stern, he wrote the Sefer on Shalom Bayis. He told him like this, he says, Sam Gevilach Shalom, Chaylev Chitim Yizmich. The Gemara says, Sam Gevilach Shalom, if it's Shalom in your Gevil, Chaylev Chitim Yizmich, there has to be Chaylev Chitim. If there's no Chaylev Chitim, there's trouble. So a lot of people, it's not Peshet they should have Parnusa through the Derech of Parnusa. But it's Peshet for them to have Shalom Bayis if they want to, because the Rebbeinu Shalom is Mizavik Zivuk. So because your wife is Teveya so much, and it's Peshet you to have Shalom Bayis, the Rebbeinu Shalom had to miss and sish down a certain amount of things. It could be that if she wasn't Teveya, so it wouldn't be a Shalom Bayis, because you would have Shalom Bayis anyway. And after Derech Parnusa it's not Peshet, because it wasn't from the Kolmas and Isaac that was Ketzuva. So just remember, her complaints may be the reason that you have what you have. Now that's not a teretz for every lady to go screaming that she wants and wants. But it means that there's no one can give you agmas nefesh. And no one can give you simcha. I think he brings the Ramesh Chaim Lutzat one of his svarim, that the biggest agmas nefesh in Shemayim is going to be that we're going to come up there, they're going to show you, you're going to pay a price for the taivas that you had, and they're going to show you, you would have had this simcha anyway. Because if you had enjoyment from the Averis, that enjoyment was coming to you. You would have had it, you could have even had it with Derech Mitzvah and you would have been paid for it. Now you're going to have to pay a price for it. And the Agnes Nefesh and the anger that people caused you were so angry, you would have had that Agnes Nefesh anyway. Don't you understand? It's much better getting it at home than getting it Rahman from the tax authorities or getting it from someone that's there. And really that was David HaMelech's tefillah. He knew that he's going to have to pay a price. So he said it should be mitoch beisi. Maybe they're going to have Rahmanas on me. So what does that mean? That when there's a meriva b'toch beisi, if this meriva wouldn't be here, the meriva would come from the outside much worse. So no one is hurting you one mashu more and no one is giving you one mashu more. That's a lot easier said than done. But the Metziah says that the more we think about it, the closer we are to come to that simcha. You know, there's a machlokes when you read Parshas Matas Masai. So when Masai comes separate, which is very rare, so there's a minhag in Chabad and other places that you read all the Membeis Masuas every Monday and Thursday. They once went to David Feinstein, so he said that he was Chumashiyas. He mentioned that his father's minhag, or Moshe's minhag, was like this. When Masai came out alone, during the week he read only till Shem. He said, Bitul Melucha, people have to read. But on Shabbos, you're reading the whole Sedra anyway. So if there's the Indian to read all the Membeis Masulas together, so why not read till after the Membeis Masulas to make the first step? And he said, and I'll tell you Pshat what my father meant. Every person has Membeis Masulas in his life. You go from here to here to here to here, and it has to include up and down, up and down, up and down. And when we come up in Shemayim, it's not going to be where you were. It's going to be, so how did you deal with this matzav? How did you deal with this matzav? To us, it looks like there's 50 guns pointed at our head from 50 different directions. The Beitar doesn't look at that. The Rashi says, no, it's all one picture. I have it all one picture. All Yidus life is one picture. He says, during the week, we don't see how the Masuas are connected. You can stop wherever you want, because we don't chap. It comes Shabbos, we say, wait a second. All these Membeis Masuas are connected. Every single Nisayan I had in my life was one giga picture lens. It's all one Nisayan. Oh. So wherever I'm going to make it through, that's how I'm going to make it through. It's a different story. I want to be a Messiah with this nice thing. That he told me that the story happened to him. His wife wasn't well. And it was a difficult diagnosis, and she's in the hospital. Things are not, matzah is ayim b'nayim. And it comes the beginning of the year, and there's that hurricane from David Ebbetson in New York, whatever her name was. And they have, I remember. And they wanted to, they had to, she's in one of the hospitals by the water, and they have to evacuate the whole hospital. So never, on top of everything else, they're schlepping her with all the machines connected to her down 10 flights of stairs, and the staff running in the dark with emergency lights, and that's the Chabad Gavin, they have to transfer ambulances waiting to transfer people to the hospitals. So she calls her husband over. She says to him like this. A lot of the people, when they were schlepping them down, I heard them say like this question. They said, and now this? I'm not suffering enough? And now this? So I want to ask you one favor. I'm not going to ask, and now this, and you also don't ask, and now this. Okay. Lamaisa, she was switched to a different hospital, a hospital that is not in a very good neighborhood, but they have to go wherever they have to go. They said as soon as they can transfer, they're going to transfer. Meanwhile, at 6 weeks, she's not transferred. He's there Shabbos. There's no minyan. It's not a good neighborhood. After 6 weeks, he craves to daven with a minyan. He tells his wife, I could walk to the west side. It'd be an hour and a half walk. That's such a good neighborhood. You mind? I'll leave 7:30. I'll be there 9. I should be back by 12. Just, okay, go. But no penura. Come right back. He runs downstairs, and because it's not a hospital that's usually used, so it's not that Skulim didn't work out, then he would see us that should be Shabbos friendly. So the main doors are all electric doors. So says there's steps, try stairway A, he comes down, if you pull the push the exit button, the alarm rings, it's Shabbos. Stairway B, they all have the same problem. Either the main doors are electric doors, or the other ones have a handle. Is there any other stairway that you can just walk out? All the way in the back, all the way in the back, past the financial offices. He runs down the stairway, he wants to open it, and as he runs, same problem. Turns around to run upstairs, door's locked. Now he's locked in the stairway. And his initial reaction was like, bunch them. And now, the Rabbi was almost ready. Don't ask. He's not asking. So he runs upstairs, he's banging away. He runs downstairs, he's banging from the inside, going to the shchorim that are walking, they're going to answer him. So he banged 72 times. He's Gematria Chesed, he thought, it looks like there's no Kabul on the other side. So he figures, meanwhile, let me daven. So he starts davening. And you know, when you're stuck in a stairway, it's such a matzah, there's a different kind of davening Shabbos morning. He says he never davened like that in his life. He said that nishmas was Kailas Brooke. So when he got to the words at Sayin of him, he never cried since the whole thing started. He said he burst into such tears that you can't imagine. They said, Rabbi Fischel, I'm not no kashas. I'm asking you for one thing. One is sit, my wife, and children by the Shabbos day. That's all. It's your Shabbos. That's no time. He said he cried like he never cried in his life. He said he finished davening, he was soaked from top to bottom, dripping. He turns around and he says, okay, now what time is it? He doesn't have a watch, he has nothing. Bangs on the door. Hey, you stuck there? Yeah, I'm stuck. Why'd you use your cell phone? The battery's dead. No. He says, why'd you open the door? It's stuck. Call the guard. He says, by the way, what time is it? The guy says it's 3 o'clock. He said, the guard comes around, he has to run up 8 flights of stairs. By the time he gets up there, it's 3:30. He walks in, his wife is crying, she's holding him, telling him she's crying. And he says, look, don't ask what happened. He says, one time I was waiting, 1:32. So when did you start saying Tillim? She says 3 o'clock. Okay, that makes sense. And so she says to him, I didn't have no ties on the bunch. So I said to the bunch on one thing. I have no ties, and now this, and now my husband's missing. And one thing, it's Shabbos afternoon. Let me be home with my family Shabbos afternoon. I shouldn't have this problem. That's all I said. He said, I promise you, this is what he told me, that until then, until that day, every single time the doctor came in, and he said it doesn't look good. And every test came back, not as bad as we thought, it's something else, it's really treatable, it's much easier. Is that since that day he has been home with his wife every single Shabbos. So what does that mean? That Eibsh is only geprivet. But it means some place in our life we're going to be trapped in a stairway at the worst possible time, in the worst possible place. We have two choices. We can say to the Rabbi Fischel, and now this, or we can understand that in the Rabbi Fishel's big picture of our life, this is the hill. And if you get over this hill, it opens up Yeshuas, and it opens up Simchas that otherwise could have never possibly been available to us. Right.